amazing responses from some of you. We don't know actually which one of these are the responses, but yeah, I will reveal them in short time. Yeah, many of you are excited to join Google, I guess. Okay, I guess we will start with our session. So I hope my screen is visible. I would like to welcome you all to this session. Can you just please put in the chat box whether the screen is visible or not so that I can continue? It would be really good. Yeah, thanks. So the goal for today's session is to we are going to learn some exciting things about microcontrollers and how do they work, and more particularly we are going to learn about hex files and what they mean and how we are using them in our programming language. So let us start. So first of all, let us talk about what are microcontrollers versus what are microprocessors. To get the idea about what kind of crowd I am talking to, I would, all of you, if you would go to this link, it would be really good, where I am actually going to ask you a simple question regarding that. It would be really interactive. So, yeah, uh, I will begin accepting the answers. You can just go to this link and let me know like how much do you know about this thing so that the session will be more helpful. Yeah, that's amazing. Many people are responding. And yeah, I hope it's interactive enough. I will just wait a few seconds for before I reveal the answers. So yeah, let's reveal them. So many of you know the basics, but still want to learn more. So I hope you will learn some new things through this session. So I will just quickly go to my pen and we will quickly see what exactly is the basic idea behind microcontrollers and microprocessors. So as many of you might have already known, the core of everything that we want to talk about today is something called as CPU. I'm sure you must have heard this word many times. And what exactly CPU does is it's trying to compute some operations, and those operations are done on something that we have, I guess, we have heard about a lot of times, which is called as data. And to do those operations, we have few things. We need some sort of memory to do that, to keep our data. And we have two types of memory here. The first one is RAM, which is volatile, and the second one is ROM, which is non-volatile. And basically, this part of our model here, suppose this is our computer of some sort, then this part is what we need to actually perform some useful operations such as temperature sensing if we are talking about it, or maybe some sort of computing programs if we are talking about actual software programming. But if all those three of things, such as CPU, RAM, and ROM, if all those three of things are contained on the same chip, then that is basically what is known as microcontroller. And if all these things, three things, are maybe manufactured by different manufacturers as well as they are just interfaced with each other and not exactly on the same chip, then that is what is called as microprocessor. You might think right now that why go for distributed model of our circuit, that is microprocessor of microcontroller, where when we can actually do everything on a single chip. So let me give you a quick example here. Suppose you want to do a mini project, and for that you have a small group of people. And in case, as it is a small mini project, you can actually handle everything on your own. But suppose now you want to do something software like Facebook, which has many things to consider, then you actually need different sort of organization within your main organization to handle those things. That is a vague idea about why distributed model is much more powerful. But in case of simple things like a controller of AC, some smart fridge, or things like that, microcontrollers are enough. So I hope that by now you have gained some vague idea about what are microcontrollers and what are microprocessors. So today what we are actually going to talk about here are the microcontrollers. More specifically, let me go to the PowerPoint here. We are going to talk about Intel Z05. I'm sure that I guess someone is unmute. It would be really great if you mute yourselves so that so that no disturbance will be created. So today we are going to focus on 8051. Most of you might have already heard about it. It is actually there in our syllabus, in our electronics engineering syllabus. But right now we are not actually going to interface it with something, but we are actually focusing on how to program it. What is the programming aspects of it, and how we can actually use it without actually going into the details about what is the circuitry on. In further session, we will continue doing that. But right now, we want to do some basic things to understand its basic structure and how we can actually use it. So, so let's just go to the next screen. And before we actually talk about things like microcontroller and how to program it, let me tell you a quick story of how we are actually doing things while in software engineering. So I'm sure that most of you might have heard about C language. Most of you must have written some small programs such as Hello World, which we are actually going to do at this session with a simple twist. So we will get to that. But whatever programs which you write in case of some sort of editors or maybe IDEs or anything like that, those are actually pre-processed. That is some important instructions such as hash define or things like that. Those are pre-processed, and the whole thing is compiled by the compiler. You must have heard this word, the compiler. And compiler, what exactly it actually does is that it kind of, the compiler assembler both work in hand, and the assembler is the part which converts our code into assembly language. We will learn about what exactly is assembly language in a few seconds, but right now just bear with me. Then assembler, what it does, it converts the whole thing into machine code. Today in our session, we are actually going to write an assembly code of a program, and then we are going to convert it into hex file, which is a machine code, which is produced by assembler. And after that, what we will do is we will try to see if that hex file which is created, if we will see if that makes sense. Finally, as we move from assembler, we have a linker, which is basically links multiple files into one single format. And finally, we have a loader. And what loader creates is the .exe file, which you might have used for final execution of your C programs. So this is kind of an overall vague idea about how exactly things are happening. So let me quickly talk about what exactly assembly language is. So assembly language is, let me just go to the poll here and ask you about if you know about assembly language, right? So yeah, it would be really great if you could go to the link and answer this question. Yeah, thanks a lot. So yeah, let's finish it there and move on with our session. So yeah, most of you have heard about assembly language. That's good. That's really good. But for those of you who have not heard about assembly language, let me just give you a quick review. In case of C, what we are doing is that we are actually dealing C is often known as a high level language. What it exactly means is that we don't necessarily care much about what hardware which we are using or what kind of things which we are actually performed on the hardware. But the machine code, something instructions in machine code, some are somewhat will look like this, and these are the instructions which actually we are going to use in our program today. So I will just quickly go through that. And assembly language is a it's comparatively low level language. What it does is it is create there are opcodes, and it creates some sort of interface between C, which is high level, and the basic machine code, which is kind of boring to look at if you ask me honestly. So there are some instruction. The first instruction is move, which we are going to use today, which relates to data processing. We are transferring our data from one part to another. Suppose we have two numbers, then suppose they are called as x. And what we will do, we will move, and we want to add 3 plus 5. Then what we will do is we will assign x to 3 in case of C. And what it means in case of assembly is that we are just moving value 3 in x, whatever the memory address of x is at that address. And assembly instructions are written in such a manner which are kind of difficult for a human eye, but I'm sure that by the end of this session you will feel confident about it. So what I'll quickly do, I will just create a new program here in Microvision, and I will quickly go through this. Yeah. Okay. So the software which I'm using for compiling our is called as Microvision 5. You will most probably use it for programming 8051. I will explain the details of that within a few seconds. But right now, let us look at what exactly we are trying to achieve. So today we have this problem statement. So it's pretty simple. There are, for those of you who don't know about 8051, we have 4 ports. You can think of it as each port having 8 pins. And we are basically connecting 8 LEDs to those 8 pins. And our job is to make them blink using programming. And we are using 8051 as our main interface to do that. So I hope the problem statement is clear now. Can you quickly just put yes in chat box if it is clear? Is the problem statement clear? Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So now I will move to Microvision 5. So here, first of all, we need to create a project, which I just did. I hope you must have seen it. And then we need to actually select which chip or which component which we are using to program it. So as you must have seen in here, yeah, it is Intel Z05, right? It's not actually written like that, but yeah, you get the point. So it is Intel's, let me select the device, which is 8051, and we don't actually need this. This is needed in case of a C. So let me just quickly add one file here. I will call it ready. So yeah, I am going to write a code here, and while writing code, I will explain it to you. But try to understand this code as much as possible. Our job right today is not exactly to understand this code, but to understand whatever comes out of this code. You will know what I mean shortly. So 8051 is an 8-bit microcontroller, and for our purposes, all we need to know today is the address space of 8051 goes from 00 to FF, which is hex value, which denotes in binary as 1111 1111. And what exactly it means is that we can write our code anywhere from 00 to HH. Right now, I'm just, what this line means, org00h, it means that I'm starting our instructions from memory location 00. That is the start of the memory. So we need to blink our program. blink our blink LEDs on port 2. So what we need to do is right now we have to pass values on port 2, whether 1 or zeros. And you can think of it that ones are LEDs are on, zeros are LEDs are off. So let me quickly do that. So FFFF actually corresponds to 1111 So those are the 8 bits which we are setting. Then we need to call some delay. So right now I'm just going to call wait. In C, this is actually relates to calling a function. But right now I have written it as an absolute call. And it actually moves to some different location in our memory. We will see what is that. And then it will wait for some time, and then we will turn all the LEDs off. So this will correspond to making sure that all LEDs are off. And again, we are calling wait for some time. Then let me write what wait is here. So this kind of syntax is called as a label, where we are actually telling our like integrated development environment here that this is the address where we are actually want to go. It is kind of similar to calling a function. I hope you are actually understanding that. So let me do some quick things here, and I will explain it to you what I've done. So right now I need to have some sort of delay. If it was C, then what we would have done is that we would have calls for a for loop, which will go from I equal to 0 to some I equal to some value, and then we will go back to our program and do some process. Here, in this case, it corresponds to doing something which is in a following way. R2 is a register which we are using to sort of here R2 is similar to integer or for loop. It is just a kind of variable which we are using to make sure we get the delay. And the next instruction is kind of tricky, so I will first write it and then we will explain it. So DJNZ means decrement and jump if non-zero. So whatever value R2 has, it will first decrement it. It will check if it's 0, and if it's non-zero, then it will jump to wait 2. So if you can actually see this, I have actually created a loop here. First of all, R2 will be loaded with 0xFF, which is nothing but, as explained previously, these 8-bit values. And after that, we will decrement those values as long as they are non-zero. And when I have decremented the value and the value is 0, that means in case of C, our for loop is over. And what we will do, we will actually return to our call. So our program will go like this. It will first start, it will turn the LEDs on, then it will call wait, we will come here, R2 will be loaded with 00FF, then unless and until R2 is 0, we will just go from here to here. We will actually see that in debugger mode. And finally, we will return to our main program. I hope by now, I know I'm going fast, but I hope the things are clear, because the next part is really interesting. So yeah, I have got no errors. Let me quickly go to the debugger mode, and we will check if things are working correctly. And the way in which I have denoted port 2 is P2. And let me quickly go to IO ports here. So what I've done is I've gone into debugging mode. Here we can actually see how interfaces of our 8051 are all working. So I will run this code, and you will see that in case of port 2, the tick mark means the bit are 1, and if it's not there, then that means they are 0. So they will actually blink. You will see. Oh, wow. So I've done some mistake, I guess, right? We will quickly see where I'm going now. Oh, by the way, you can put where I've gone in the chat box. Okay, that's fine. This is me rediscovering these things all with you all, and I hope it's kind of fun for you too. Yeah, this is what I've done. I have actually written the code correctly, but if you can actually see, this whole thing will be executed only once, because I have not actually written any loop here. So what I have to do, I have to jump back to the start, And I told you that the way in which we do this is we create labels in assembly. So I will come here and I will call for wait. Some delay will be there. Then we will clear those bits. Then we will call for wait, and the whole process will start again. So I hope that now the things will be clear. In reality, these are the things which you are going to do in your day-to-day life. There will and yeah, now the code works correctly. Can you see it? Just please put a yes in chat box if you can see this. Yeah, that's amazing. So as you can see, this is the clever way in which we are writing loops here. And if you don't write loops here, then I hope you have understood what will happen. The bug in our code was that we are doing everything correctly, but we were doing everything once. In case of C, this means that the main function was called executed only once, and there was no while one loop, which is while two loop, right? So I hope now we have understood. So let me quickly go back to PPT and focus on some point. So assembler will using this assembly code will convert it into machine code. So let me quickly create a hex file, and the way in which we do this here is we create an output, we select create hex file, and it will create that. Yeah, so it will be stored here. So yeah, it's here. Can you see it on the screen?
Yes.
Oh yeah. So this is what our program is. This actually relates to what we have written so far here, and these two things are actually equivalent. And the main goal for our today's session is we will try to make sense of what are these ones and zeros in hex files and how they relate to our assembly code. So yeah, let's start doing that. First of all, the things which you might have noticed is there are three columns. Our first thought actually is the font proper, or should I increase it? Yeah, I guess it's visible. Can somebody please put in the chat box if the font is visible?
Hello Pradyumna, it will be better if you zoom it a bit.
Okay, I will do that. Oh, sorry. Is it visible now?
Yes, it's clearly visible.
Yeah. So the first thought would be that the first question which must have Thank you, Kalani, thank you, Satya. So the first thought which we need to ask the first thing which we need to ask ourselves is that what are three colons doing in our hex file? Because as I said, hex just it is a number system, kind of 16 symbols in it which go from 0 to F. So if it is a hex file, then we suppose that it should contain only hex files, right? There should be no colons here. Our initial thought might have been like maybe those three colons correspond to these three labels here which we have created. But it's good to ask the best teacher there is, which is Google, about what exactly we are doing. So we will go to that, and I will just fetch it with you because I am also rediscovering these things with you. What is this hex file? So yeah, we see that there is some sort of hex file form, and yeah, I think the screen is visible now, and yeah. So this is something called as a Intel's hex record format, and what it basically means is that it contains data as well as some metadata. And this is kind of the things with all of your files, which it might be a video, it might be a PDF, it might be anything. But as a computer, we inherently know as an engineer that it's always represented as a zeros and ones. And to make sense of those zeros and ones, zero, we need some sort of metadata. So you will always see that some sort of additional data are always there in case of every file, and it may be for the sake of error correction, error detection, or some simple things, but it will always be there. So corresponding with our hex file, what it means is that the colon is a thing that starts every Intel hex record, which is fine, I guess. There are 3 Intel's hex record. And after that, LL is the record length field that represents data bytes in the record, right? I hope you are seeing these things on the screen. Can you quickly put yes in chat box? So that I will know that you are with me. Yeah, thanks, Ashok, thanks. So the first bit, the first 2 symbols here, or maybe characters here, are LL, which denote the length of the data. That's fine. So that means that 10 is the length of the data in this case, and 10 is in hex. So that means that the value of 10 in decimals has to be 16, right? So, and after that, the four characters corresponds to AAA. After that, there are some TTs. We will see what those mean. Then there is a lot of DD, which represents data field. And finally, we have a CC, which is checksum. So let me just quickly bifurcate everything into that. And after that, we will see what each of those mean. So yeah, so this is our hex file. So 10 means that the record length, that the number of bytes in a DD record are what is the length of the data which we have in our record, which is 10. Then A means that let me just quickly move that here. I think it will be better visible. So yeah, so A is the starting address for our subsequent data in the record. And right now, in our first record, we have a starting address of 0000. So this actually corresponds to our line, which we have written in our assembly as ORG00H. Now we have got it, right? So that's correct. That is what we have expected. Then we have some long string of data which we don't make sense yet. And finally, we have a CC, which is checksum. So let's just read what checksum is. So checksum field that represents the checksum of the record. The checksum is calculated by summing values of all hexadecimal digit pairs in the record modulo 256 and taking the 2's complement. This kind of seems hard, right? What exactly we are reading. But again, Google is at our helps, and we have many online calculators for us, which we can actually calculate checksums for us. So what I will do, I will quickly just copy everything here, and we will actually see if the checksum of our data comes as a C8, which is what we are expecting. So let me just go back. Okay, it's found for you to see. And yeah. So we had modulo 256 as well as 2's complement. And if you see here where I've highlighted, yeah, the checksum comes out to be C8, which is what we're expecting. So we have made a sense of all these things. So this is a checksum. I will just write this is checksum. And our goal today is to understand everything in this. So let's now forget about data for some time and move on to next record. So next part means the first 2 bits are the length of the data, which are 01. That means there is only just one data record here, which is fine. We will understand what it means. Then we have a starting address of that data, and that is 10, and which is this is kind of logical because if the addresses start from 0000 and we have 10 records in our previous record, then the next record will start from the 10, right? Which is the 16th address. We will see what it means, and I will just quickly put it here. Then we have the final bit is just a checksum. So again, I will not actually check that it is correct. So would you like me to check if it is that correct? What do you say? Put yes in the chat box if I should see if this checksum is correct. Yeah, so yeah, we will quickly do that. So let me just copy these things here. I will just paste them and we will check. As you can see, the checksum comes out as CD, which is what you expected, right? So this is correct. And finally, we have this 00 in our third, the first two characters of our third record, and this means that the final record actually does not have any data. This is interesting, but let's carry on with what we have. Then it says that it starts from address 00, which is kind of contradictory. But let's see what this 01 means. So I will quickly go here, and this is TT. So I will see what TT01 means. And 01s, as it is written here, it's end of the file record, which is kind of what we expect, right? Because we have this statement end at the end here, and so this corresponds to that. So by now you are understanding what I'm actually trying to do here, and we can check also the checksum of our final record. Yeah, let's just quickly do that. If we analyze it, then yeah, it is F. So this was all about the Intel's hex file record, and we have gotten a vague sense of our code. We have understood how exactly org00h is represented in our hex code, and we have understood how is denoted in our hex code. But what about the actual code which is there? So in case of 8051, the instructions are 1 byte, 2 byte, or 3 bytes. And what this means is that the memory it will take for each instruction will depend on what kind of instruction it is. So let me just quickly, the first most logical thing to do would be to quickly bifurcate everything within 1 byte. And that means 8 bits. So it corresponds to 2 characters in case of hex files. So I have done it. So first is 75, then A0, then FF, then 11. You might have been actually wondering why I'm not calling this as a 75, because that is in the decimals. So always remember it. This is not 75, it is 75. So let me quickly go back to our Google's window. And yeah, so to make sense of our data, I actually told you that we have some sort of assembler here. And what it actually does, it is converts. I'm quickly moving through these windows. Sorry about that. So it converts whatever instruction which we have into their corresponding opcodes. And what this means is, for every bit of instruction, there is a specific opcode. For example, if you want to add something, then we have a specific opcode for that. If you track something, then we have a specific opcode for that, which can be interpreted by 8051 as this is the operation which we are trying to do. But looking at the whole assembly program, we don't actually get what exactly these opcodes are, and we will finally know that what exactly I mean when I say that the assembler is converting hex assembly code into the machine code, or hex code more perfect correctly. So I will just go to this opcode site. I hope the screen is visible and opcodes are visible. So can you please put a yes in chat box if you are there with me through this whole thing. So yeah, thanks a lot for that. So the first thing that we have in our data always starts with an opcode. I will tell you the reason behind it, or you yourself will understand it after just a few seconds. So let me just straightforward say that this is an opcode. The 75 is an opcode. So what I will do, I will quickly go down here, and if you can see these. Okay, so these are in the leftmost corner, we have hex codes. So we have to find hex code 75. So let's do that. So yeah, so this is 75, and that is 3 byte instruction, and this means move, which is what we expect, right? So 3 bytes mean I have to take into account this much amount of data. This is move. Then we have A0, which we don't actually understand, but we have FF, and FF is the value which we had put on the port 2 to turn all the LEDs on. So this is that value. So I will just write the code here. I hope that now you can see why the first thing is always opcode, because we have some different length instructions of different length. If it doesn't actually knows how much length an instruction takes, or some sort of operation takes. Suppose we have an addition operation, then we need to tell our 8051 that you have to add something, and after that it will know that it has to take two numbers which are coming in memory after the instruction, which is addition. Otherwise, if you are just giving data to it, it won't actually understand how to operate on that data. So that is why the first instruction, the first things are always the opcodes, and after that comes whatever the data which is. So now that we have made sense of 75 A0 and FF, we don't actually know this A0, but we will quickly see that. And we have 11. So let me just go here and quickly see what is 11 is. So 11 is absolute call, and it is a 2-byte instruction, which means I just have to click up to here, and I will quickly write here. So is a call, and this is calling some sort of 0C. And if you can see here, in case of 11, it says that it is an address. So that's the interesting part. We will come back to that later. So this is the way in which we will proceed for line by line, but as it has actually been a long time, I will just quickly sort out all other instruction, and you can follow along with me. 75 is we have actually seen it, which is the move instruction. I will just quickly denote it, what it means. Then 11 is absolute call. I will again put that here. This is calling some sort of 0C location. We don't actually know what it means, but we will check. Then we have 80. Let me quickly check what is 80. And 80, as expected, it's single jump, and that means we are at this part of our code, S jump to start. But here, if you see correctly, this is start, but we are actually, in case of X file, we are actually going to address, which is denoted by F4. We will see how this relates to some interesting behavior. And then let me quickly check what is 7A. That is again move. You might actually wonder why there are two moves here. But yeah, if you can actually see, these moves are for different operations. So this is move R2 register with X code with FF value. Then we have DA. We'll go to DA. DA is decrement and jump if non-zero. So let me just quickly write that here. R2, offset, which is F0xFE. Finally, we have check. This does not create store data, so we are just ignoring it right now. And then we have 22. So let's see what 22 is. And 22, as expected, is the return statement, which we are calling from our loop. By the way, this loop is called as a subroutine in case of proper 8051 or microcontroller programming language. And what it actually means is that we are just getting away from main program and doing something else. So by now we have gotten all of these instructions correctly, but let's just see what this 0C means. So if we have started our program for 00H, then why not we will just quickly go through our instruction and we will label them addresses. So 75 will correspond to 00, A0 will correspond to 01, FF will correspond to 02, and these are addresses in the memory which I am denoting with this OR symbol, and I will quickly do this for the rest of these addresses. And after that, the picture will become clear for you to see. And most of the time, in case whenever you are learning these things, you will be doing such thing. You will get stuck at some points. You will try to make sense of what exactly is there. You will Google it and then come back it again. And I hope you are really discovering these things with me, as I'm also trying to understand and make sense of what exactly these things are. So in case of hex, we don't actually have 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, and 15. So in case of 10, we use A. In case of 11, we use, let me just quickly write it this way. In case of, we write 0C, then 0D, 0E, and finally we have 0F. And then the return instruction, as the last instruction is at 0F, then the next instruction will be at 10, which is what we expect, which is what we expect, and which is what we are getting from here. So these are addresses over each of these instructions. Is the whole picture clear to you right now about what are the addresses, where are the codes, and how it exactly relates to memory? Can you please put yes in chat box? I hope you are not bored. I know it's time. I have taken more time than I said, but trust me, this is going to be very interesting right now. So we have these addresses and we have this data, and this is what is there in the microcontroller. The chip that you saw previously in our presentation. In this manner, somewhere in this chip there is a 00 address, and at that 00 address we have stored 7pi instruction. And a microcontroller, when it sees that, it knows that this means it is a move instruction, which is 3 byte, and which is corresponding to some sort of A0 address, which we have not yet talked about, but we will talk about. So now let's just first focus on go one by one and see whatever unknown things are there. The first thing is A0. We actually expect that it should be port 2, but it is actually showing us A0. So let me quickly check on Google about what is address of port 28051, and in the end I will also show you a quick move how you will not need to Google it, all those things. So if you can see it here, it says that the SFR address, which denotes for a special function register address. We won't go into the details here, but the thing that we need to know here is that the address is A0H, and H just stands for hex. That means that its address is A0, and that is correct because what we are getting here is A0, and that just means that this is actually our port 2. Right. So these things are demystified, I guess. So this is port 2. Now let's move on to next part. So what is 0C? So 0C will correspond to some sort of location in a memory. So let just in our code, what we need to go is to go at the instruction of wait. And if I could show you on the screen here, at the wait, the first instruction is move FF value into R2 register. So, and this is 0C address location. So we will see that this is the address location of 0C, and at that, as we have expected, there is the instruction that move FF into R2. So this is our wait. It's just written in a different manner. So this means this is also our wait, right? So I hope that now you are getting some things. And so wait is clear. The rest of the code seems, but let me just quickly focus on this part here, that sjump F4. So what does this F4 means? Because we have written here that we should jump to start, and start is at 00 location. So why are we actually going to F4 location? So to do that, we will just quickly check what exactly is sjump instruction. And the sjump instructions code was, I've forgotten, it's 80. So yeah, that's up here. I will just quickly put in a new screen here. So if you can see this here, what sjump operation does is it increments something which is PC well, which is actually known as a program counter. We will go into the detail in further sessions with this. But right now, all you need to understand is that PC, for all our purposes of understanding, PC is some sort of variable which is kind of keeping a record of everything about how programming is getting executed. So PC first gets incremented by 2, and then PC gets incremented by offset, and offset is what we are giving as a label. So let me just quickly go to the calculator here. Yeah, is it visible? Yes, it is visible. So I will change it to programmer hex. So our starting instruction is at 0, and we need to see. Let me just quickly minimize that. So yeah. So instruction of S jump is at 0A, and we need to check why it is going to F4 instead of 0. So I will just put here 0A first, then I will add 02 to that, because that is what the program does, as we saw on the side, which is actually a Kyle, which is the company which has created this macro unified software. So we will increment it by 2, and then we will add our offset here, and offset is F4. So if I add that, then we get 100. And as I already said, the values of addresses go from 00 to FF. So this one will actually get ignored here, because we don't care about that. We actually don't have an address that corresponds to 1, right, or 100. So it will ignore this one, and we will again go back to 00, which is what we have expected. So this is how this F4 is working. It is inherently going back to start, but it's a different manner. In a similar way, let's just check about what is this FF and sorry. Let's just we have started with F4 and we have understood it. So let's just see if anything are remaining. So can you spot if anything is remaining in this code which we have not yet understood? You can put a yes or no in chat box, right? Look at the whole code properly and see if we have made sense of each and everything in this. So have you understood what this code is doing? Please put yes in chat box if you have. So yeah, thank you, Darvish. So now that we have seen all of those things and how each character in hex file corresponds to what exactly is happening in our memory, understood this whole how each bit in hex format creates relates to whatever we have written so far. So this is the code that we started with, and this is our hex file. And before, when we saw that, it was actually pretty confusing what it was, but right now I hope you have gotten everything. So shall we move ahead? Yeah, so now that we have seen how hex files and our code is related, let me just quickly show you something which will always help you if you are doing these things. we actually don't need to go to all these sites each and every time to check what instructions are, how things are happening, and everything. What we need to do is just download 8051's datasheet, and everything is always there in case of a datasheet. But if you can see my screen, the datasheet, while it will loads, it is actually pretty long. It is 140 pages long. So if I had shown you this at the start, you heard a flabbergasted about what is happening. But now all these things are always written in a data sheet, and that's why in case of electronics engineering, pretty much focus is on the data sheet, because everything that we need to do is always written in this, and there are some further advanced which we will cover that in subsequent sessions. The most prominent which you will use in your engineering career while doing interfacing with different kind of microcontrollers is the timing analysis. So things like that, as well as opcodes, as well as how instructions are, what instructions can you use, all the instruction set, all these things are written in a data sheet. And you should always make a habit of downloading a particular, whatever microcontroller, whatever sensor, or whatever component you are using, you should download it and you should go through it while you are actually writing some programs. So with all that behind us, and that we have understood what exactly hex files are, let me just quickly go to something which you already know about. That is the concluding part, and we will stop after this. So let me just quickly write one C code here. I will just call it hello.c, and we are not doing anything fancy here. I will just write hello world. Or perhaps I should write good evening, right? So I hope the screen is visible and you are seeing this code. So let me quickly compile it. So let's just first check that our code works, and yes, if you can zoom in, you can check that it works correctly. But what I actually want to show you is that we have learned how hex files are created in microcontrollers. But before ending this session, I would like to show you how these things are working in our microprocessors. So yeah, this source file is created. I will quickly open it. And can you see this source file on the screen? Yeah. So this is kind of assembly for our microprocessor, and which is right now what I'm using is Intel's Core i5. And in case of 8051, as it is a pretty old microcontroller, there was no concept of multi-core processors or something like that. But this is what kind of the assembly instruction. And if you want, you can always make sense out of it by searching on Google or going to Intel's actual datasheet. There is actually a datasheet for each and every microprocessor out there. But what I want to tell you here is that these things are also are similar to what we have previously seen. Forget about this whole thing. I will leave it to you to make sense out of it. But just hints. There are some register ESP, EBP, and we are loading some sort of different values, which are nothing but just kind of the instruction which need to be given to our microprocessors to work. But the thing that I want you to focus on is that LC0 location, which is this label here, we have written in ASCII good evening, which is what I had written in my C code as printf good evening. And if you can focus here, then the first instruction is call main, and that is what we actually execute whenever we are writing C. Then we have move L instruction, which is actually into ASP register the value which is denoted by LC0, and that is good evening. And finally, we are calling printf to further process that data. So you can always analyze these things using different data sheets and using different sites. But right now, I guess this is enough for today. I hope you had fun rediscovering these whole things with me. And believe me, you are going to do these programs, and particularly in case of 8051 as well as ARM microcontroller, which you will use in second year and third year. You will be asked to create hex files and load them into Proteus when you are simulating them. I hope when you do that, you will have a more understanding of how things are working at the backend. So with that, I would like to close this session. And before just moving on, it would be great if you can go to final, if you can just go to live quiz session and just on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest score and 10 being the highest score, how would you like to rate today's session? So yeah, it would be great if you could do that. And after that, we will end our session. Okay. Thanks a lot for joining. I would like to officially conclude today's session. See you at the next session. Thanks a lot. You can leave now.